Welcome to Leadapreneur. Hello, and welcome to the Leadapreneur Podcast, where we explore the future of talent and technology. As we look towards the future, we have here Rizal from Redpacked Asia. Welcome. He is a leadership trainer, a speaker, and also a passionate racing enthusiast. Welcome onto the podcast, Rizal.
Cheers, yeah, and thanks so much for having me here today. Lovely place. I can't wait to talk with you. And I've read up something about you, and I find you to be a very interesting character. So I think this is the first time I've done a podcast interviewed by a foreigner.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Well, and I know you have lots of overseas experience. What stood out to you as being interesting when you were doing your due diligence on me and Leadapreneur?
The title itself, Leadapreneur, was very intriguing.
Yes.
And it got me thinking. I love these sort of very catchy names and so on, because the name itself is a theme, and the theme will kind of give you an idea of what you're about.
Yeah.
So my first question, now this guy must be an entrepreneur of sort, and then loves the element of leadership, probably successful. So it got my curiosity going. So I can't wait for the day itself to happen. So here we are today. And after speaking to you just now, before we started the show, yes, I can see a lot of my answers from within were answered during our conversation. So it's great to be here.
Awesome. Well, from our side, we wanted to acknowledge that your expertise in leadership, right? I think there's so much power in focusing on the leadership skill because it has sort of infinite depth to it. Right. And especially as we're going into this age of technology, artificial intelligence, that seems to me something that's only become more and more important. But before we dive into all that, you mentioned, I asked you where you're from, and you gave that sort of pause and was like, oh, right, here we go. Yeah. And I think that's very interesting for our listeners, because you represent a global experience coming back to Malaysia, right? Yeah. So give us a quick sort of introduction on your global experience and what made you come back here to Malaysia as a returning expert.
Yeah, it's one of those questions that I always get, and it's hard to explain. People always ask where I'm from. So the immediate answer is that I live in PJ.
From PJ.
Yeah, from PJ, right? But I never really lived in PJ. That's where my address is. I was born in the UK, Newcastle. So like a Geordie, for those who know them, they don't speak English actually over there, a different kind of accent. But no, I can't speak the Geordie language or the slang. Then I spent a great deal here in Malaysia, and I was overseas when I was in high school. When I say overseas, I was in Penang for 2 years, and then I did some local studies. Then I shifted to Australia, Melbourne, and I spent a good 7 years there. I did my degree and my master's there, and that's where I started my first job. And I was doing accountancy, and back then, accountancy was the go-to course to do. And if you ask any Asian parents, you either be an engineer, a lawyer, an accountant, or a doctor. And I thought, okay, which one is where the money is? Definitely accounting. And when I finished my master's and I started work, and I realized that, hey, it's nothing to do with my money. I'm counting out someone else's money, and it's just a lot of work to get paid that much.
Yes.
Then I realized that wasn't something that I want, and I love dealing with people instead of money. It was good because I had that background, but then I love dealing with people more. So I spent about 7 years in Australia. I even have a PR in Australia. Then I decided to move to Japan. And I stayed there for another 7 years.
And why did you move? Because, for a lot of people, you're living a dream, right? Certainly Malaysia, right?
Yeah.
You have the blessings of the good Malaysian looks, right? Very handsome, right?
I don't know about me.
Yeah. And then you've got, of course, the ability to travel the world, PR in Australia. Yeah. Why jump into Japan? What led you to that?
Yeah, I think I met someone from there.
Okay.
Someone from there. Then we decided to move back, and the question was asked, "Would you like to try?" And I don't know what to expect when I was going there. It was if I were to put it in Malaysian, bidang payung terjun. So just go ahead and do it and give it a go.
Right.
So when I moved to Japan, I literally didn't study the language. I kind of know the culture through movies and whatnot, but it was all secondhand information, right?
Yes.
Once you get there, then whoa, this is a whole different ball game altogether. They are fast-paced, very modern, but also very strict in their culture. And it's a one nation. So it's just 99% is just Japanese there. And but I got to find my true self, my own soul, who I am, when I was living there for 7 years or so. And
Let's
yeah,
pause on that for a minute.
yeah,
What on earth does that mean? The truth? Because I align with that, right?
yeah,
I think this is actually one of the frontiers of this new age,
yeah.
right? Because it's about yourself, it's
Yeah.
about your soul, it's about your state of consciousness, really.
Mm.
What was that like, unfolding that and exploring that? And I think above all, allowing yourself as a a successful professional man to say this is a journey worth my time, right? Because a lot of people deny that. Right?
Yeah.
Right. What persuade and then Japan of all places.
Yeah. It was a rash decision in hindsight. If I were to think about it, wow, why did I do it? But it was too much curiosity, and it was very intriguing for me. And I felt like if I don't do it now, I won't be able to do it later. So what Australia represented to me was absolute freedom.
Yes.
To be able to do what you want, be who you want, and no one's going to judge you of sort. And I was coming from Malaysia, and I was in a hostel in Penang. So you're very much, streamlined. I am close to borderline brainwashing. So when you went to Australia, it was like,
brainwashing to what?
Yeah. I can't share that, but it was quite intense.
Right. Okay.
You're kind of you're molded into something, right? So there's a certain expectation. But Australia was completely different. Then you go to Japan, which they kind of implore you to really, really showcase who you are. They're a group they're very creative, as you know, Japanese, but they're very intense as well. And culturally, they're very strong. So when I went in there, I stood out. Where I used to work, in my office, about 98% was Japanese.
Right.
And of course, I managed the foreign team when I was there, but they were never in the office. They were all over the place across where I was, like in the Kansai side. And the more I started working with my colleagues there, the more I started to realize that, wow, I'm so different from having a place where I'm allowed to do so much, Australia, and then going to Japan. Suddenly there are certain expectations, and you're kind of put into a different type of category. And in Japan, unfortunately for me, I was third grade citizen. In Australia, I was, and I can be whoever I want. I wasn't worried about anyone looking differently to me.
Yes.
And it's widely accepted, because in Australia, the workforce, 70% is people from all over the world.
Right.
And I've been there, and I work inside, and I've seen how it is. Japan, you stand out like a sore thumb.
Right,
And I was probably the only Southeast Asian guy in management at that time.
And were you in Tokyo?
I was in Osaka.
Osaka.
Right? Yes. So, and I had to speak the language, and it was easy for me and easy for Malaysians. They say Malaysians have a very soft tongue.
Right.
So that's why we can speak all sorts of slangs and dialects.
Yes.
So when we learned Japanese, it was so much more easier. But the thing about discovering my own self was limitations, my own personal limitations. I felt that Japanese, though they were very robust in getting new ideas, very focused, very driven. I find myself, trying to be someone that I'm not when I was there. I was expected to work long hours, because if you and you're required to leave after the boss leaves.
Yes.
My boss lived next to the office. So, and he was originally from Tokyo, meaning his family is in Tokyo, but he's based in Osaka. So he's not going to go home. The guy will literally go home when he wants to go to sleep. So I got to stay there. I got to stay back, and I got to do all the things, follow the bosses wherever they go, do all the stuff. And I then realized that, wow, I have not been able to really, really focus on my strength. And even though I felt that I was doing really well, but it wasn't what I wanted. But it wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong. I learned a whole great deal.
Yes.
And then it shaped who I am as a manager from the experiences that I had in Japan. And
it's also very mature, right? Because you're coming from an environment that was so open, right? To one that's very more not necessarily closed, but more fixed, a bit more rigid.
Yeah.
Right? And in encountering that rigidity, you're discovering yourself.
Yeah.
But rather than sort of overly reacting to it, you're seeing yourself, being yourself.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, that's interesting. That doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah.
But maybe this bit does, right? And it seems like you're using that to explore, which seems to be an important element today of being a leader.
Yeah.
Is you're kind of exploring yourself.
Yes.
In understanding the particular cultural norms that you're in.
Yeah.
And it's not about responding too quickly
Yes.
to one or the other, right? Because it is the way it is. This is Japan, this is Osaka, and that's just the way it is, right? I guess.
That's very true, but there's a dark side to the story as well. So that
There always
it's
is.
always a dark
There
side.
always is. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was a turning point for me.
Mm.
I remember it vividly. It was the second last year, the last year that I was there, and it was probably the last winter.
What year was this, out of
I
curiosity?
would say 2013.
Okay.
So 2013, I came back in March. So the last winter will be 2012 December.
Right.
So it's around that time I finished work. I think that I was the usual stuff, year-end stuff, closing and making sure the projects are done and so on. So much high expectation. And I knew that I was trying to mimic my old boss, who was, knows the numbers very well, very driven, and then gets on the issues, the crux of the issues immediately and tackle. And I thought I could do it, and I couldn't. So it was that lonely ride on the tube to go home. And I was quite dejected, very sad. And
Did
also,
you actually cry? Were you crying?
I think it was worse.
Even worse.
It was worse.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't want to go home,
Oh,
and I felt that I questioned, why am I doing all this? And it was that time I was on the last train, a second or third last train, and I was at the edge of the train station. So this is a subway downstairs. So I find myself standing at the edge of the platform, and I felt that gave up. Said, what's the point of doing all this?
Right.
Who am I serving? Am I doing this for my family? Am I doing this for myself? And I'm so unhappy. And then I thought I was going to wait for the next train to come and I'm going to jump. So at that moment in time, everything flashed back. So my time with my family, my time in Australia, and my own time in Japan, I nearly made that jump. I could feel the other train coming. The wind was coming. Only when there was a guy who was managing, he said, "Oni-san, daijoubu desu ka? So are you okay?" On the back, and that snapped me. I was just like, I got out from that, and I stepped one. I took one step back, and the
So
train
that
went
one
past.
voice just.
Yeah.
And you didn't know this person, I'm assuming.
No, he was just there. But in Japan, it's quite common that
Yes.
people take their lives.
Right.
And one of the easiest ways to jump on the track,
Right.
because you come and instant death. So
Wow.
that was the time when I realized that I got to answer the questions that I have on within. Why am I doing what I'm doing and I'm not happy? Okay. I try to mask and justify what I do by saying that I achieved my goal, I achieved my target. I'm enjoying the time in Japan. I've got great colleagues, but there's so much emptiness here that I'm not serving the needs that I personally have for myself, which is to make myself happy. So immediately during that time, there was this. I got an email. And it took me a long time to recover from that. I got an email from Talent Corp Malaysia, and they were announcing we've got this amazing program called the Returning Expert Program.
Yes. Yeah.
And the idea was to bring professionals from overseas to come back to Malaysia and upskill the workforce in Malaysia. And I thought that, you know what? I mean, I've been to Australia, I've been to Japan, I've learned a whole deal. And I feel that from the whole experience that I have, it's so important that you need to do things that are important to you.
Yes.
And you need to have the right tools to do it. And I sat down with my former boss and I told her, at that time was a lady, said, I'm thinking I want to go back. I learned so much from the organization. I learned so much from the team. And I think that what's missing was purpose. Because I think maybe because I was living overseas for a long time, I start to lose out on where am I going to be in the next few years or so. And so it's like a calling. It's like, okay, Rizal, you've done your time. Maybe it's time for you to go back to your roots and then find a purpose, a real life purpose, and then stick to it and commit to it. And then that Talent Corp thing really kind of like, wow, it was a big ring, a big ring on the bell saying that Rizal, wake up. Maybe this is what you can do. Yeah.
I'm a big. I mean, thank you so much for sharing this
Mm.
powerful story. You know, and I think a lot of people can relate to it. You know, I think mental health. Wouldn't want to call it mental health, but that mental pressure, that worry, that anxiety. You know,
Mm.
I think we've all felt it, right? At
Yeah.
different times. I think it's much more widespread than it's maybe commonly acknowledged. So
Yeah.
thank you for being so brave and sharing that
No worries.
with us. And it's interesting that it relates to that idea of purpose,
Yeah.
because when you have that strong sense of purpose, it gives the call of consciousness that there is something here for you,
Yeah.
right? And that element of serving something greater than yourself gives you a sort of a, call it the meaning matrix, a reason for why you're here. It doesn't mean it has to be for everybody. That's why I call it the meaning matrix. It's your meaning matrix.
Yeah.
It works for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to enforce it on everybody else, right? But it works for you. And it's interesting, I think, as well, that when we align with that, with true purpose, the synchronicities start to come in.
Yeah.
Synchronicities, and so the right talent call email, the right voice at the right time.
Yeah.
Right? These things are, from my perspective, I actually don't believe in randomness. I think randomness is computational constraint.
Wow.
You know, when you roll a dice, it's not random. It's not like you roll a dice and suddenly the laws of physics are suspended.
Yeah.
The issue is you just can't compute it fast enough, right?
Yeah.
You don't have enough processing power to do it.
Yeah.
So whenever I encounter randomness, it's really, I just keep seeing computational constraint. And maybe there is a much greater mystery out there, right? And even if you're looking at stochastic randomness, there's still an even distribution to the bell curve.
Yeah.
So it's not random as we expect it to be, right? And even chaos and chaos theory, it has an ordered structure to it.
Yeah.
Right.
I totally get you.
Right.
I get you. From a certain perspective, yes. It's kind of like you can foresee it can happen. It's also serendipity in some way. But the way that you put it is true. And all stars align, then it becomes clearer for me. And it was easier for me to make my next decision. I wouldn't say it's easy because a lot of the times when people read your background, it's like, Rizal, wow, straight out of Japan. Sounds so great. You have an amazing background. But people have no idea the struggles that I had to go through from a personal perspective and also from work. But of course, we try to make the best of whatever we experience and make it into a learning point. Because if you don't, I don't believe that everything is negative. I think there's something positive that you can take away from it. Or at the very least, a learning point where you can avoid going to the bad thing again. Yeah.
I have this phrase for myself, like pain teaches truth.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're feeling it.
Yeah.
You're maybe in an exciting place like in Australia.
Yeah.
Or, Japan.
Yeah.
But if there's pain, that's the real truth.
Yeah.
Right. It's not the outside. And so what I'm also admiring in your story and with the context of the age of AI, there's this technology focused conversation at the moment. But the more we technologize, the more we must humanize. And what's beautiful in your story as a human, listening to his heart, listening to the call of his consciousness, and saying, I'm going to follow my heart.
Yeah.
I'm going to follow my heart to pursue what I truly believe in, what I believe my purpose is here on earth, and serve that. And that seems to be what led you to come back home to Malaysia.
Again, the journey back home, the decision was pretty straightforward. But I thought that it was something that I was never prepared. You can never prepare yourself for the journey back home. People always say that going overseas, you have a culture shock.
Yes.
But I think the biggest culture shock you have is actually when you return back.
Right. Yeah.
So I remember it vividly. I took an Air Asia flight by myself because I returned first before the family came over. And I landed in the LCCT.
Oh, the old one. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I remember that one. I flew that one.
Yeah, gosh.
I actually flew out of LCCT to Cambodia for some work and flew back to KLIA 2 the first time. So it's a new airport. What's going on, right? That was crazy. That was a crazy one.
Yeah, because, I haven't been back. 14 years, I only came back once.
Right.
And
14 years you came back once?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was a mistake on my part.
Yes.
Because I wanted to maximize my time.
Sure. Right.
And that's...
Well, you did. You got what you wanted.
I never knew, right?
Yeah.
If I look back, I should have, because that could have changed a lot of things for me. But never mind, the past is the past. But, I think it was March 15 or something like that. Went back and then landed. And here I am with my bags for the first time returning back home. My parents were late by an hour. And immigration was horrible at that time. And there were tons. There were Indonesians and Bangladeshi and Nepalis over there. They were queuing, but they weren't standing up. They were sitting down. at the immigration queue. And here I am waiting there. What's happening here? I have no idea. And I was stuck there for a few minutes and I went out and I was waiting outside. And people that were waiting at LCCT, it literally was a night market. And the first question that I had was, did I make the right choice to come back?
What have I come back to?
Yeah.
Right.
It was a test of faith. Yes, it was like, oh man, really? I left just before spring. So the weather was amazing in Japan then. And from a support structure from family side in Japan, it was amazing. It was just the whole work thing just didn't really fit in. And when I got back to Malaysia, then my mom and dad, they were late. And I said, it's okay, no worries, when they came over. But the minute I saw them and I saw their faces, then, okay, all right.
Because you haven't seen them
I haven't seen them for a long time.
How long?
I would say by then it would be 7 years or so because it wasn't a stopover before I went to Japan. So that kind of validated my decision, and that's when I thought that okay, I got my own support structure now, and they know me. But then begins the journey from March onwards was rediscovering who I really am, because 14 years I was in La La Land. It was what I think I should be. And I was finding myself in Australia, and I was forced to be someone in Japan, and coming back to Malaysia, then it's redefining. And I think the next few years on, I was given a lot of opportunities to, be part of amazing organizations. And then I truly discovered who I am, and that led to where I am now. So there was,
Before we go too far into that, I love this phrase, La La Land.
Yeah.
I'm all in. But, let's, because I think there's often this sort of, this fantasy, especially for Malaysians in the country, that outside is better. And, and so you got to experience that, right? And then maybe, I don't know, maybe you got a bit lost in La La Land, or you had a lot of really good time, or you explored lots of things. What would you say is sort of that difference between being in the La La Land abroad and then coming home to yourself and finding yourself? What stands out to you as being important about that? What's significant there?
Quite difficult for me to put it in words, to be honest. But living in Australia or Japan, for me, if I were to decide to stay there for a long time, good. Then La La Land is great. There's no issues at all. But I was in limbo because it felt to me like I was in transit.
Right.
As if like I have to go somewhere after that. So Japan and Australia showcased to me so many things that really helped me mature in my thinking. For instance, Australia was a land of abundance. Everything is just huge. Food is huge, the road is huge, the car is huge, people are huge, opportunities are huge. There's just so many things you can do. And it really encapsulates the feeling of living in a country that is fully developed, because it's really up to you what you want. And there's no shame of any type of profession you want to choose. And the same goes to Japan as well. It doesn't really matter what you do. You can be, a sweeper. If you're content and happy, that's it. So I guess for me is the thing that I felt was, what if I go back? Would I be able to do better or not? I think that question was the one that is lingering in me.
Back home to Malaysia.
Back into Malaysia.
Yes.
Because I see my friends and they're kind of doing well. And some of them are really, really like in high positions or really having an impact to the country or to the organizations that they're in. Because where I was, I had friends who are in C-suite levels, in banks, in organizations, big ones. I had people who are in politics, and they are making really powerful changes to the country that I was like, wow, I mean, I wish I can do that too. So back to your question about La La Land, it's great. I think that if you go in with an open mind and you feel that there are possibilities available for you, yes, go for it. And Australia or America or UK, they have that platform to allow you to try different things, and you have no one to judge you. And that's beautiful. I think that's great. And Japan was, I think, really heightened my senses in terms of it's so vivid. The things that you see, things that you smell, things you eat, things that you hear, it's so alien. that you're constantly transported to a different place every time you go somewhere there. And I like that. I think I love uncertainty. I love exploring. So that was great. But if you listen to my words, there's all possibilities, exploration, and so on. But I'm never on the ground. So I thought that coming back home was like something that I needed to do to really understand how much or what really can I do and really utilize my skills to make a difference.
With this life that you have, right? Because I think then maybe La La Land can be characterized as one gets a bit lost in it. There's so many opportunities, there's so many experiences, intensities, things, and you're chasing for it. But in the end, you're going to ask yourself, what for? Who am I? What is this really about? And I think what's admirable about you is you took that seriously. You took that seriously enough to leave what would have been a good life in Australia, what would have been a good life in Japan, right? Many people would wish for that, right? If you think about it. And you took two big, brave steps there twice to come back here. And now you're here working in the realm of leadership, right? And you are, as I understand it, really passionate about changing mindsets. Right. And helping people with that. And maybe from your own mindset from La La Land to living your purpose, I guess. I'm not sure how you describe that. I wouldn't want to put words in your mouth, but tell us a little bit about, this idea of what it takes to be a great leader today. And specifically maybe with an idea around mindset, because a lot of what I'm seeing today is this constant call for mindset shifting. Right. And that's such an critical element. It's not just about having skills as a leader. If you have the wrong mindset, you're not going to be as effective as you could be. Mindset is a force multiplier, right? Bringing the right mindset, not just into an individual, but an organization by enabling the seniors at scale. I've had the opportunity to work with the DBS Bank for 5 years and interact with some of the seniors there and see the mindset there. And that's a very forward-thinking organization. The mindset there is remarkable. And they reflect that in their success. So what can you share with us that you think would be an interesting starting point about the power of mindset and the power of mindset with relation to leadership?
It's a great question, and I love it. And I want to look at it from a very simple point of view. I think that mindset shift is very critical because wherever you go, to the different people that you meet or different situations that you're in, you got to be able to see from a different perspective or even have a different view on certain things. So from a leadership perspective, why I was so keen, to give some context, when I came back in 2013, I worked for a multinational as a local general manager. And I spent a good 6 years there. Then I jumped into another organization as a general manager and a regional director for learning and development. So all throughout that 8 years, I had the opportunity to travel across Asia Pacific because I was attached to an organization called Wong and Partners, which is a Baker McKenzie law firm. Baker McKenzie. This is the largest law firm in the world. So, and we were closely associated with the Asia Pac office. And I had the opportunity to go to Singapore, Hong Kong, Taiwan, China, Thailand, and so on. So again, it feeds my desire of exploration. And it also allows me to really, solidify my communication skills and my leadership skills as well. Because I personally believe a person's leadership values are based on the people that they have met throughout their work or their career. So you can learn so many things from the book, YouTube, TikTok. There's a lot of stuff that people talk about. But the leadership values that we instill in ourselves is literally the ones that we have worked with. And it's the same thing I ask to my audiences is that, if you were to close your eyes and think about your past experience, who were the ones that influenced you or inspired you to be who you are today?
You mean the specific people?
Yes. Yeah, all my audiences, so my trainees or people who are my keynotes and whatnot. And they all have different people in their lives. It could be someone at work, it could be someone in their family, their friends, or someone they know of newspaper and news and whatnot. And they would pick up 3 or 4 things that they think is valuable. And if I ask in the next question, I'll say, so out of the things that you appreciate from those values, of the people that you work with or you inspire, that are your inspiration, do you use those values in your day-to-day life? 99% people will say the same. Yes, because I believe those values are great. So coming back to mindset shift, what was critical for me to ensure that people are, are able to understand what they need to do to be able to have a mindset shift is to be able to meet more people and understand situations where relevant to them. So someone like me, and figure out what do I need to do? Why do I need to shift my mindset? What does it take?
Right.
What helps me? Why do I need to do that? And to tap into their own experiences and understand that the people that you were inspired of, actually, these are the people that also had similar mindset shifts in the past.
So I think what you're touching on is something is easily overlooked because you've had the opportunity to travel so much and see so many different mindsets, see so many different realities, and because there's difference, you can generate a greater appreciation of it.
Yeah.
But if you've always been in the same community with the same people, you can't see mindset in the same way. It's difficult for a fish to see the water. Because it's just there.
Yeah.
And everyone has a similar mindset because you're in a similar community with a similar way of thinking, and you don't break out into difference.
Yeah.
And so it seems like what you're saying is to come into awareness about your mindset, you need to try and seek out difference.
Yeah.
Different people with different ways of being, who have different approach to life, and to look at that not as threatening, not to look at that as wrong, but to appreciate the power of that difference. And then see how you might be able to take something from that into your own self. That's I think. Am I summarizing that well?
But you did it really well, man.
building a few, yeah. That's such a nice way of putting it. It's like, yes, because it's easy to take for granted.
Yeah.
Right. If you haven't had the chance to do that, right?
And people don't ask. People don't ask enough. So I can't tell you how to behave or what leadership styles are great. I mean, we got frameworks and whatnot, and it will help you in you managing your team.
Yes.
But ultimately, we are based on our own personal story.
Yes.
So for all my trainings, when I explain it, it's all based on what I've gone through. And that's it. There's no rocket science behind it. It's who I met, what I learned, and then why it's practical. If you think that's valuable, take it on. If not, go and look back at the people that you've worked with, and then what are the things that you can do or you should do, or what are the things you need to avoid, because we need to learn the mistakes that people do as well. So I just go into their own personal experience and deconstruct what they have, and then develop it, learn from it, and ensure that they take the good stuff, and then hopefully they will achieve some form of change in their perspective. And I think that's the most powerful. And most of the time, a lot of people are quite happy to be where they are. And this is my style, this is how it work. But that's not the case. You got to be, I know this is a very overused word, you got to be highly agile in how you work. And I truly believe in it. And that includes you being able to appreciate the differences, just like how you put it, and understand that nothing ever stays the same at work. Could probably stay the same in a week, a month, maybe 2 months, maybe a year tops. But the next year is always very different. And the ones that do really well are the ones that embrace that change and are ready to adapt.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's the one key thing that I always push across.
The agility need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it seems to me that one of the, that kind of idea of a fixed mindset seems to unconsciously assume the idea of a fixed world. That the world is such as it is. I don't need to have an agile mindset because the world is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. And then as we are into this accelerating world, you're suddenly confronted with that need to have that growth mindset.
Yeah.
But I think that we're also going beyond the growth mindset.
Yeah.
Because I think there's an element, the limitation of the growth mindset is that you're just learning. Whereas there's a shift into creating.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a different kind of mindset.
Yeah.
Growth mindset sort of has a conclusion of just learning lots of things.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm kind of in that learning, and in learning, I'm changing and growing. But there's a shift into that mindset of being a creative force, a legitimized creator who is actually going into the world and building the better world that they believe in as a creative entity. They're not seeking permission. They see themselves as having that edge out there. So what do you think is part of that ability to feel comfortable with that? There's a lot of uncertainty in that for people. They like the idea of the world. The world is the way it is. These are the rules. It's fixed.
Yeah.
How could we learn from you that we're going into this disrupted, fragmenting world where there's so much change, where we need to be agile?
Yeah.
What can you help us understand about mindset that would be useful for people?
Yeah. Wow, that's a big question.
Yeah, no pressure. You know.
Yeah, it's a big question because I can relate to a lot of things. But maybe perhaps I'm going to try and tie it into when I deliver topics to my participants or my clients. And there's a lot of things that are happening in the world that is, uncertainty. There's some form of uncertainty. There's so many things that we are potentially going to face. For instance, AI is a big game changer. Am I going to get my job? Am I going to lose my job? I need to know AI. If I don't, I can't process, or I have to deal with younger generations who are more tech savvy than me, all sorts of stuff. But I tend to focus on the basics. So for me, when let's focus just at work. I don't want to talk about life because I think that's a bit harder. But about work. So if you're doing a particular work, be it whether you are at a junior level, mid level, or you're a team leader, or you can have a huge impact to the organization in terms of directions and performance and whatnot. Always go back to the end user, your customers, and we don't have to be in a sales company to understand customers. Whatever work that you do, we are part of a supply chain. The secretary is serving their boss. An accountant or accounts receivable is handling the accounts manager. That's their client. Or an IT guy who works in an organization, their end user are the people within the organization. And those are their clients. It's to truly define who your clients are and then understanding what is it that you can do to resolve their problem. So now, instead of looking so far ahead, I'm looking at things that I can do to make an improvement then and there. And I think I always emphasize on that because those are the people that matters first. And once you start solving those problems, all the other things will start to fall into place. And that's where you build efficiencies. That's where you build growth. That's where satisfaction comes in, and an element of gratitude as well because things are working very well. And if whatever you do is directly related to your paying customers, even better. So it's all linked up to purpose of the work that you do. And if you focus on that, that's finite for me. If I start worrying about things that are too much, maybe those guys who are on the higher pay package, let them think about strategy and vision. But even if they look at strategy or vision objectives, business goals and whatnot, it's still down back to the customers.
Right.
Yeah. And I learned this because in my leadership training, when I started off in 2021, at the height of MCO, at the height of COVID, I decided to resign from my work. I'm an extrovert. And suddenly I had to work from home and manage my team from home, and I hated it. So I said that, you know what, why don't we try training? So I went all out. And I got a lot of clients and whatnot. I was doing really well. And then for 2.5 years, I felt that I need to evolve again. So I met my partner, my business partner. And this guy is amazing. I worked extra hard to be able to get clients. He, on the other hand, closes clients before the year end, and next year's schedule is already packed. And then what sorcery is he using? And he was telling me what he does and so on. He said, Rizal, it's very simple. You're creating something to try and change people. Yes, it's great, but it doesn't have an immediate impact to the person or the organization. People would love to feel that they're doing something that is meaningful. People would like to feel that they are doing something that is accomplished, and it's not only accomplished for them, but for their clients or end user. Be that person that brings a change from that. And I say, wow. I mean,
Bring it here into the now. Is that what he's saying?
Well, focus on who really matters.
Right.
Right. So everything that we do for the salary that we earn is to help someone solve a problem of someone else, another person, another entity of sort. So going back to your point just now is to focus on things that can be handled immediately in front of you. Focus on the people that matter, which is part of the supply value chain that you have at work. And don't think so much about what the possibilities are. Be aware about it, but focus on people that the short term or the people that matters immediately. Arm's length is what I personally learned.
Yes.
Yeah. Make a difference there first.
And this is really powerful, right? Because there's so much noise and there's so much. I mean, I often have high states of anxiety about things 5 years in the future, which will never happen, right? But I like to torture myself with that. But But I think that's such a beautiful elegance in what you're saying, because it's right. Focus on the arm's length distance. There's just a few people, right? Serve them. That's what you're here for. And in doing that well, you generate also I kind of see it as a coming into reality.
Yeah.
I think one of the characteristics of today is it's very blur.
Yeah.
Right? You're across multiple screens. You're in multiple states of consciousness as you think about multiple things. You're just kind of all over, right? Smeared out.
Yeah.
Whereas from what I'm understanding, what you're advocating for is be here now.
Yeah.
Focus on those who are closest and what matter.
Yeah.
And serve that well. It's very simple, right? But that the work now is to keep it simple.
Indeed.
Right? That's actually the work of building that kind of more focused mindset, I guess.
Yeah, because going back to AI, there's AI for everything. So the guys were saying, Rizal, we don't need to worry about slides. We can make slides for AI. Look, if I do this slide and this AI slide and I send it to the clients, would it matter? Have we asked that question? Did the client say any specification about certain type of presentation? Would it change your review? Would it change the impact of your presentation? Actually, no. They want me to be there to be able to share and, run an exercise or an engagement to get them to think.
Yes.
So that's the end game.
Yes. They're not asking for an AI deck.
Yeah.
Right? They're asking for an expert to guide them through it.
Yeah.
And perhaps in the expertise lies in bringing them even more into the now.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Right? Yes, you can ask AI to take you through it. You can get AI to build you anything, right?
Yeah.
But can you be here now and pay attention to this moment?
Well said. Well said. And that's the theme for me now at the moment, is that 2 years ago when I started this training business, I was so focused on creating frameworks, developing really cool solutions for clients, making it look sexy. Like, wow, this is cutting edge and so on. And after I met my partner, it was all about, okay, you want me to prepare whatever. It could be strategic discussion. It could be critical thinking, innovation and whatnot. What is it that you want me to solve? And who is it for? Answer me those that question and give me 3 or 4 items that you want to look at. It just focus on that. And I feel that that was a game changer for me. And I still, with my team, I asked that same question. Like, yeah, I know you got a great idea. I know that technology is an important component, but the guys that we meet, they probably know what they're doing already. But what is it that they're looking at? Are they focused? Is the focus right? Are they looking at the right audience? Are they really, really helping those who are going through a difficult situation at work? Yeah. So knowing how to create the proper problem statement from that, I think that's critical. And we don't want to be too carried away with probabilities. It's good to talk about it. I mean, if I go in talking about just, that, then I don't have a vision about the outside. So you got to be able to connect.
Yes.
Then you need to be able to make sense of what's happening around. It's part of the skill of a trainer. Storytelling is very important. Linking up all the different variables. That's the research that we need to do as trainers. But to connect all that, to make it into practical learning and practical application, post-training is critical. And I want them to have an immediate impact then and there. You imagine if you do a training, these days people attend training 1 day, 2 days, they go back, it's still the same. So I personally believe that after the training, they have something that they can implement straight away, that they can go and shout out, boss, I've done it. In fact, I want people to, after the training, they go, boss, I've done this one here. I think my performance is better. I want a pay bump. Reverse psychology. But if they are really performing, then why not, right?
Well,
yeah. And I want them to be able to have that. So I'm solving real problems here. You wanted me to attend training, I've done it. And key problems are resolved.
Yes.
Efficiency is much better. I want a better bonus.
Yes.
I hope they don't use that. But yeah, that's what I want. I want them to feel great that they have achieved something. Yeah.
Well, I know that we have a few minutes left, but I know that you also have one secret advantage in bringing this presence into the present, which is your passion for racing. And you are I don't know if I'm saying this correct, a racing driver for go-karting, motorsport. What's the karting? What's the right way of saying this?
So I'm calling myself a racing driver is a bit too much.
It's okay. I'm a racing driver. Oh yeah,
I know. I'm trying to sell myself too much. I'm a go-karting enthusiast. I do have a team.
Yeah. What does that mean, having a team? Like,
It's all started
Are they
off.
doing the pit stop for you? Are they swapping the tires out or something?
Yeah. Oh, swapping tire out costs money, so we go for cost efficiency.
Okay.
It all started off in Australia, 1999.
Yes.
They had a lot of go-kart tracks over there, and funny story. I fell in love with racing because a friend of mine. We were at I can say this anyway. We were at Melbourne Crown Casino, and he was on his last $5. He was his last chips, and he said, "I've lost so much today. I don't care. I'm going to put my money on this number, and that's it." And he left the table. And the next thing you know, the guy at the table calls, "Sir, you won a bunch of money." And we went back and saw it was huge. So the guy said, "Guys, I'm buying you Grand Prix tickets for the weekend. We're all gonna watch F1."
Wow.
So
Okay.
I had no idea. I had no idea what to expect, and I was kind of excited. So we went to the track. And it was Albert Park, and we were going to go and sit on the inside part. So you got to cross the bridge to go into the inside part. So I was going on the bridge, and then at that particular moment in time, there was a Jordan. So it was a yellow car went past. So, who's that? Oh, that's Jordan. I think it was Damon Hill, probably Damon Hill. Then this is when stars align again. The beautiful prancing horse, the red car of Michael Schumacher went underneath.
Oh, cool. As you're crossing the bridge.
Crossing the bridge. And it was a V10 at that time, I think. And it was so loud. It was so loud.
It's really loud there. Yeah.
But it hit a note and was like, whoa. From that moment on, I think I fell in love. It was love at first sight. So it was, I'm a supporter of a driver in a team. But so Michael was then, and there was a legend at his time because he was fighting and he couldn't win the Grand Prix, the championship for Ferrari yet. So he was going to try and win it. So people were supporting him a lot. And he was such a feisty driver. So we got to watch the Grand Prix, and I was from then on watching it. And of course, if you're into F1, you start driving go-karts. So I had that in Australia. Went to Japan, did for a bit. When I came back to Malaysia, then I realized that, Malaysia seems to have a lot of kart tracks. And these days, we have more than 15 tracks in Klang Valley alone.
Wow.
It's crazy. Believe it or not. And
I went to one with my family, actually. They visited in Christmas. And we did one of the new ones that's, you go south of the city in the east, where the new highways being built.
Monkey Canopy?
Yeah, that one.
So that's LIL.
Yeah.
One of the best tracks in the world.
Great track, by the way. Free shout out, but
free shout out, LYL, go for it. And why I say team was that I used to race, and then I found people who are like-minded. Now, me being me, I'm competitive.
Right.
I don't like to lose. That's a weakness and a strength as well.
Right.
So we entered a competition, endurance, and it was one of the first few in Malaysia, and we got second place. And the competitors were huge. They were all either in the racing industry, they were either full-time racing drivers, or some karting enthusiasts. But we won second place. It was a 5-hour endurance, and I had 6 drivers with me. And out of the 6, 2, fast forward to now, have became professional racing drivers for Toyota. And one represented Malaysia in the Motorsports Olympic in France. And then I also got to, throughout this whole experience, connected with Alex Yong, who is a former Malaysian F1 driver, whom I saw debut in Melbourne. I think it was, the year 2000 or something like that. And we got connected and starstruck, of course, F1 driver. And he had a program called Driving Basics. So you learn how to drive basic driving, and you learn it through sim racing, which is simulation, and you do go-kart. And I felt that, wow, technology in this. So in the past, people want to race, you got to go into the circuit to race your car. And anybody who does that knows it costs a lot of money to bring your car, and you destroy the car. So, but in sim racing, it's so real that if you're really good at sim, you can actually do that. So I kind of had a pact with Alex, and I said to him, look, I got my own go-kart team. Why don't we, if I find someone talented, I give him to you, and you can train them up and see if they can go upwards, either professional sim racing or professional driving, and vice versa. If he had someone who is into sim racing but need real life racing, he would introduce them to me, and I'll bring into my team. So Redpack Asia Racing, we have representation in sim racing and also in go-karts, especially endurance. So since 2021 until now, when I was very active, As I said, the guys that went to Toyota Gazoo Racing, there's 2+1, there's 3 of them. One represented Malaysia in the Malaysian motorsports. Another one represented Malaysia in the final karting series in Belgium. So I'm not
You
really
bring
good.
that international success.
Yeah, I'm not that good in racing. I'm intense. I want to win. But my strength was managing the team. My strength is letting the team members know that, to win, you need to do something beyond others. You cannot just I went for training. That's it. All right. But what did you do? What was it that you improved on? What are things that you need to work on?
Right.
Heighten your awareness, because at racing is all about that. We're talking milliseconds.
Yes.
So
literally, right? Milliseconds, right?
it's, I mean, the competition that I was in with my team, the qualifying for top 10, the differentiator for first 10 is less than a second. So we're talking 110 to 100, from 100 to that level. And this is fun rental cars, mind you. And we are at that intensity. So what makes someone fast is that focus, right?
Right.
So
And that relates to mindset, I think, right?
Yeah.
The mindset is the foundational architecture for that
absolutely
capacity to generate and sustain focus, right?
is
Because it's way more than just mindset, right? It's the sustained mindset.
yeah, that's the real struggle.
Like the winning mindset is very different
Yeah.
to a turn up and try mindset,
Yeah.
right?
It's so easy. A lot of people don't see the challenges, because when you see F1, it's them running around in circles. Okay, I can't say that I know F1, but at least I know racing on a circuit. If you were to do 20 or 30 laps, right? Intense racing, in any mistake, you will be, someone will take advantage of it. You can do the first half of the race, it's okay. The last half of the race, the one thing that will stop you from winning is you.
Right, right.
You're constantly doubting, and then you start to feel tired, and you validate that in your mind and in your heart, and that's it. You're on a losing streak already. So when
Because you're losing that aggression, is
the
it?
aggression, the focus,
Right,
yeah, it's just the need to perform as is ultra and be consistent, and that is such a turn on for me. I just love it, and it's the same thing. All I do is I cheer my team. I do is I push them. I raise questions. I acknowledge the achievements that they have. It's just like running a company, but for a team. So I have to say, for my team, I'm very proud. I think from comparatively for other teams, I think my team really, really is at the forefront. It's not because we won more races. It's because individually, those people are winning their own championships. They're winning their own series, and they're getting somewhere, the things that they want. I want their lives to change. I don't want them just to go on track and be fast. That's not what I'm looking for. I want someone who is passionate about what they do and be able to link that up to their lives. And then that's why the guys that are with me, they're all much younger than me. I'm probably the oldest. I'm 48 this year. So I'm the
You're 48.
Yeah.
There you go. Apparently this man is 48, right? I don't believe a word of it. But
I'm the oldest, and I'm still. I told my team, if you want to win, you got to beat the 48-year-old guy first, right? And I will do my best to beat them. And if they beat me, then good. You've proven to me that you have so much dexterity and resilience. Now, if you want to go out against the others, you got to try and do beyond that.
Yes. Well, it seems to me you're kind of building that innovative, not innovative, that winning mindset.
Yeah.
You're bringing the technology of mindset to the team.
Yeah.
Right. And using your expertise in being a leader.
Yeah.
You're using your expertise in cultivating the right kind of mindset, drawing on your global experience.
Yeah.
To give these people an opportunity, not just like you say, it's not just about winning. One of my favorite phrases is, the way you do something is the way you do everything.
Oh,
so as you're on the track, right, it's that mindset that it's kind of like when the lens comes into focus, right?
Yeah.
Suddenly the performance goes up. That mindset is so incredibly powerful. And if you as a leader can instill that in everybody, you get a resonant effect.
Yeah.
Because he's got it, she's got it, they've got it. And it's suddenly everyone is humming together on the same mindset. And that's where I think things get really exciting. Right?
Brilliant. Yeah.
And then in this sort of age of AI conversation, that's, I think, one of the things that leaders are trying to achieve. You're trying to achieve a mindset capability. The mindset is the technology.
Yeah.
Right. And by building that mindset within your team, and that's your work, you create a resonant effect where performance goes into high performance.
Yeah.
Right. And then now you have a different reality.
Yeah. That's rightly put. And if I were to add on, I want, well, it doesn't have to be my racing team. It could be my racing team. It could be the guys that work with me and the companies that I own. If you just have a vision of what success looks like, work on it. Work on it like it's life or death. If you don't know where you're going to be at in the next year or the next 2 years, or just a slight idea of what you want to achieve, what does success look like, then that's a struggle. So my team members, especially during racing, envision yourself on the podium. Envision yourself finishing with a certain time, qualifying time or a certain lap time. Think about it. How are you going to do it? How does it play in your mind? If you already do that, you're already envisioning success and you're creating it as you go along. Some people just go in and say, okay, we just go and do it. I cannot take that. So I train my team to be very aware, to have that heightened sense, and then just know how to visualize success when they're doing it, before they're doing it, and even after they finish whatever that they do.
Well, it sounds to me that you're also creating a performance environment.
Yeah.
Where you're saying this mindset is not okay.
Yeah.
This is okay. And you can do that because people have chosen to enter the performance environment.
Yeah.
You don't have to be there if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You're not being mean. You're just saying, listen, we're here to win. So to win, we need to have this mindset.
Yeah.
And if you're just turning up, la, 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 la,
no,
you're not going to win. So there's no point, right?
Yeah.
And also that's going to infect the resonance of others.
Yeah.
Right. So we all need to turn up, be sharp, be focused, have the tuned mindset that we can to be able to achieve the goals that we're here to achieve.
Brilliant.
Which takes it maybe back to your point of keeping it simple, which is we are here to win.
Yeah.
In this example, right? So let's win and let's be here now and let's focus and let's do it, right? And the mindset's collapsing it all into this moment.
Yeah.
Maximizing performance, maximizing presence.
Yeah, nice. Would you love to be part of my team?
Yes, I would love to give it a go.
Yeah.
I actually have a Kawasaki H2.
Wow.
H2SX, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So
you're,
yes.
I think you're a motorhead as well, petrolhead as well.
Petrolhead, yeah. Two-wheel kind, yes. Yeah, somehow ended up on that pathway, yeah.
Wow.
So
okay.
that's, I've always wanted to go up to Sepang actually, but I need to buy the full leather suit.
Yeah.
That's like a whole, I think that's another 10K. So I have to kind of save up for that one and maybe lose a little bit of weight as well.
But all the best. I think that just the preparation for it will make it worthwhile, the whole experience. And when you're on the track and when you get into the zone, I love this. Okay, maybe this is my final thing. I think it's Jackie Stewart. Jackie Stewart, one of the F1 legends, said it, you're fast when you see everything is slow. So, and I just love it because it's the truth.
Yes.
Because you already are able to read what's happening next. And you're just kind of like, okay, when it's going to happen? And it's no longer fast. And then you're in the zone. So it's like floating. If you watch the Ayrton Senna documentary, then he really clearly depicts that. He has that image, that feel that, this is where I'm going to make my move. When everything starts to slow down for him. It's like slow motion. But it's actually like his senses telling him that he can make that move or he's going to take the corner that way or so. Oh, wow, yeah. So I do hope that the experience upon goes well. Put it on LinkedIn so that maybe I know, or if you're going to let us know as well, go and have a look.
Yeah. I'd love to, maybe we can do some go-karting together, share a bit of petrol head, passion there.
Yeah.
But Rizal, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for teaching about leadership and mindset. And I wish you all the best going forward into the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. It was my pleasure.
All right. That's all we've had time for. I hope you enjoyed the podcast and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.